Welcome to the concluding presentation of the Precious Metals Summit 2021 hybrid event. I'm very pleased that this afternoon we're going to be presenting a topic which we've talked a lot about in the mining industry, but it's a really critically important topic overall in the financial industry and sectors for investors as well as companies overall. Of course, that is environmental, social, and governance. And we have an interesting team. They're going to be presenting to you today. Laurie Clark, here on your right, is in person, and Onyen Markova, our other speaker, will be appearing live virtually from Toronto. So there's Onyen. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce our speakers. Laurie Clark is the founder and CEO of Onyen Corporation. She is a seasoned finance executive, serial entrepreneur, and founder of 3 technology companies. She's twice been recognized as a winner of Canada's Most Powerful Women Top 100 Award in 2017 and 2019. Laurie has over 20 years of capital markets and trading experience and is an independent corporate director serving on a variety of public and private company boards. She's a member of the TMX Advisory Council as well as several other advisory boards in the financial technology sector. She speaks frequently at conferences around the world as an expert speaker on financial and technology topics. Onyen is the latest company that Laurie has founded. She launched Onyen Corporation in collaboration with Onyen Markova. Onyen is an award-winning portfolio manager and has spent more than 15 years investing in the global mining sector and commodity markets while at AGF Investments, Inc. Onyen has over 20 years of capital markets involvement with her focus on qualitative and quantitative financial analysis, equity valuations, capital allocation, and marketing. Throughout her investment career, she's been engaged in the environmental, social, and governance topics. She continues to be an advocate for ESG material factor disclosures and has delivered multiple speaking engagements on the topic. Currently, Onyen is an independent director of Silvercrest Metals, Inc. and Golden Star Resources. At Silvercrest, she is chair of the Safety, Environmental, and Social Sustainability Committee, and at Golden Star, she is a member of the Corporate Responsibility Committee. So it's my great pleasure to bring Onyen into the room virtually and take it away. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There will be a short Q&A period at the end. Stay for it.
Hello, everyone. Next slide, please. It is a pleasure to connect with you today and to discuss the ESG reporting evolution and the solutions that the Onyen ESG platform brings. Next slide, please. As stewards, managers, and investors in the mining sector, we are all rethinking how our companies are going to build resilience in a world with intensifying climate extremes, social disruptions, and geopolitical tensions. Unlike a few years ago, it is no longer a conversation, what is ESG? But it is more of how do companies best capture the work we're all doing and measure our impacts. We need to continuously think about the dual materiality of these ESG factors in terms of the impact on our companies, as well as the company's impact on the people and the planet in order to build that corporate resilience. Next slide, please. We're currently witnessing an incredible alignment of government, regulatory, and capital around sustainability. Governments are responding to societal demand to have public funds deployed in a manner that benefit future generations. Thus, Build Back Better is becoming very, very important. Central banks have already recognized climate change as a systemic risk and are willing to provide liquidity and support green investments. Capital providers are seeking improved risk-adjusted returns, requiring ESG disclosures to properly assess risks. Standard setters and rating agencies are rushing to offer data services to capital providers, and regulators are working on mandating such disclosures. Next slide. With more than 650 policies around the world, it will take coordination and global alignment of regulatory frameworks in order to achieve sustainable, inclusive, and zero carbon economies. And this journey is already underway. Next slide, please. Sustainability development is not new. It started in 1987 with the publication of a paper on environment and development. The journey to mainstream integration was accelerated by the formation of the UNPRI in 2005. Today, more than $103 trillion of assets under management are committed to integrating ESG factors in their investment allocations, as well as engaging with companies on topics of priority. We all witnessed how climate priorities triggered investor activism in the oil and gas industry just a few months ago, which is a very powerful message coming from asset owners. Today, more than 90% of investment firms have changed voting and engagement policies to be attentive to ESG risks. It is also important to note that over the next 25 years, close to $70 trillion of baby boomer wealth will be transferred to the young generation, which is more interested in impact investing. Sustainability financing is still in its initial stages of development, but it is very clear that the pool of capital is available to allocation for sustainability products is skyrocketing. ESG investment products are expected to exceed $50 trillion in the next few years. And if we look more specifically into the sustainability-linked bonds, that level is supposed to get to $850 billion by the end of this year. This pool of capital is potentially accessible for mining projects. Next slide, please. What are some of the complexities in the reporting? There are different stakeholders who are interested in different granularity of the information. Investors want to know most financially material factors. However, there's other participants that are demanding other slices of the data. Also, dynamic materiality is bringing challenges. Topics can move very quickly from the top, from the bottom and periphery to the top of the business risks. Such an example is the COVID pandemic reporting and how quickly it moved from that periphery to front and center business risk. Climate-related topics are today front and center, especially in a year where the COP26 conference is about to start. A lot of conversations are already going on about energy sources and efficiencies around the mining circles. So stay tuned, there'll be more to come in that regards. What investors really want is a meaningful information from all companies that they invest in. Next slide, please. Consistent and comparable data. Timely and easy to find that information that sometimes requires machine readable formats. Accuracy and verification is of utmost importance because the trust is needed to be able to have a recognition that these factors are implemented in the way we do business. So what are the companies challenged with? There's a large number of coalitions and industry organizations with their own frameworks and standards creating the alphabet soup we know. There are some selected or no disclosures, most frequently because companies are underway of preparing their disclosures or they're just not sure of what exactly they're supposed to disclose. There's also difficulty in calculating those financial impacts, and sometimes it's hard to get the information from our suppliers. There's absolute cost, which is rising for reporting to all stakeholders, and many other challenges that we know we are aware of. And so what are the regulators and the standard setters doing? They're quickly stepping in to close those information gaps. Next slide. The EU remains the leader. The new taxonomy, which is based on 6 objectives, has now been integrated into the EU reporting standards and will be fully demanded and mandated by 2022. Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, which will replace the non-financial reporting directive, will also include small and medium-sized companies, more rigorous mandatory ESG disclosures, audits, and digital tags. The UK is following suit, leveraging the US taxonomy and moving to a mandatory TCFD disclosures, which is expected by 2025. Next slide. In the US, SEC has engaged with regulators, standard setters, and other bodies around the world to address the common benchmarks and standards for ESG measurement and reporting. We expect the SEC to release the human capital management and climate risk disclosure rules by the end of this year. They're also establishing a new climate and ESG task force at the Division of Enforcement to investigate material gaps or misalignments in corporate disclosures under existing rules. The presidential executive order on climate-related financial risks is also expected to have a wide-ranging transparency, disclosure, and investment implications for investors, companies, and regulators. In Canada, carbon taxation is already a reality, and the Capital Markets Modernization Task Force report issued earlier this year recommends key regulatory changes in a variety of ESG's areas. All major exchanges are now fast integrating ESG disclosure requirements for publicly listed companies. Next slide, please. So the journey towards standardization and harmonization of ESG reporting is underway. Last year, we saw 3 key papers being published. The World Economic Forum, with the collaboration of the Big Four accounting firms, came and proposed a framework which was supported by the CEOs of the largest companies. The group of 5, and now 4, because 4 of them merged, of the standard setters, are also collaborating on comprehensive corporate reporting system. The IFRS is expected by the end of this year to release their climate-first reporting standards, and certainly that integration will be mandated for 2022. This is important because 144 countries around the world follow the IFRS accounting standards, and then the accountants will certainly need to have the verification of the data disclosed. Next slide, please. We're quickly moving globally from a storytelling reporting, where greenwashing has been identified as the biggest challenge, to a much more transparent model. The evolution to model-oriented data sharing provides a much deeper understanding of relationship between the company's investments in environmental and social performance, and the returns to the individual firm and the returns to the investment portfolio as well. There's a lot more data will be demanded going forward. The next slide, please. The way we envision the future of ESG reporting is based on the capital markets endorsement of the SASB and the TCFD frameworks, which are industry specific and financially material measures of climate change and ESG factors. There's likely to be the building blocks approach to the disclosures, mandated, which will be probably global and regional, and some voluntary, which will be regional and more industry specific. Next slide, please. Technology is connecting all shareholders and all stakeholders. AI is connecting investor capital to specific companies. It is very interesting to note, for example, that Vanguard is now behind direct indexing through the acquisition of Just Invest that just happened a few months ago. They will provide advisors with the ability to personalize investment portfolios to reflect investors' individual values, amongst some other quantitative measures, which requires accurate and detailed corporate disclosures in order to fit their screens. AI is doing predictive modeling of climate-related impacts and other business risks. AI is scrutinizing greenwashing. For example, Greenwatch ranks companies based on whether their sustainability claims hold up. According to their research, More than 80% of statements from corporations in the industrials, materials, and consumer discretionary sectors have high likelihood of greenwashing. Thus, we need to be able to tell our stories in a machine-readable reporting format, which is becoming a necessity. Next slide, please. This is why we created the Onyen ESG platform, to bring affordable solutions to the market. Next slide, please. With this, I will turn over the podium to my colleague, Laurie Clark, CEO of Onyen, to take you through the system's functionality.
Thank you very much, Ani, and a pleasure to be here amongst really live people. It's a pleasure to see everyone again in person. And it's nice to have some of our customers amongst us and with us. It's very lovely to see you all. I'm going to actually, and this is something that Bill Gates used to always hate doing, is I'm going to attempt to do a live demo of our system. And inevitably, something always mucks up. So please bear with me, but we're going to do a live demo of our wonderful system. Now, I am going to tell you a little bit about Onyen. Onyen came to be because a wonderful friend of mine, another woman, we are women-led. I don't know how it occurred, but it did. I come from all things trading in capital markets, and so do my partners. This is an offshoot of some of the systems that we used to create and build. The systems that we did used to create were trading, clearing, settlement systems, and securities exchange systems. So we do understand the investor point of view. We understand the financiers and how they look at your portfolio of holdings and how they invest in you, because I used to invest in you. So one of the things that I'd like to really put out there is the Onyen system really comes from that point of view. Okay, it's from the investor side of the business. And what we've tried to do is to make it easy for resource companies to tell their story in a very unique way so that they can get the most return on their investment. Because at the end of the day, and I really mean this, and it really is, I try to underscore it as much as I can, ESG is not only about good citizenship and good corporate citizenship. It's about access to alternative sources of capital. That's what it's really about. And if you have proper disclosure, you will gain funds. And that is at the end of it all. So what we're going to do is I'm going to log in, and I want you to really think about a few things. I want you to think about, number one, we are the ESG department for companies that don't have an ESG department. Number two, we really are Tylenol, okay, or Panadol here in the U.S. We really make it very, very easy. We're trying to eliminate all of the headaches. Number three, we are what we've done is we've taken a tax reporting system and we've taken a portfolio management system and we've kind of combined them. Why tax reporting? Because it has the decision tree capability. And so yes, over here, no, over there. And for portfolio management, because you will include the most elemental data, and therefore then you will have a roll-up effect to the viewpoint of your audience. Okay, so that is very, very important. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually, I'm not going to show you every single feature of the system because it would be very, very, it would be a very, very long time in trying to identify all the benefits, because there are quite a number of benefits. But I will say this, one of the most recent benefits has been one of our customers had just done their ESG report, and it was very, very simplified, and it was very, they were able to do it very quickly, and it is published. And what happened though is, and this is very important, they were up for renewal on their financing. They were looking for different financing and more financing, as we all are all the time. And because of the fact that they were on the flat platform, I can say this empirically, they not only kept their funding, but it was also increased. So that is something that I cannot make up. That is something that has occurred, and we are very proud of that. So what you're going to see is this is the Onyen system. We've kept it extremely stark. Why? Because we want you to focus on the disclosure. Why? Because your job is to actually just disclose and be transparent in what you do. Our job as a technology company is to make it easy for you to do that. So how do we do that? We ensure that you can, there are 23, let's try to figure out how really complex this sort of structure is. There are 23 standard frameworks worldwide, and some are coming into creation now in various myriad different ways. And then there are the rating agencies, which are in and of itself the antithesis to the standards frameworks. So the standard frameworks are what you're supposed to live by. And I understand this because I come from the IROC world and the SEC world, where I lived by those rules every day of my life and still do in my other companies. And then you have the rating agencies. Well, that's like black box trading. It really is. There's no transparency. You have no idea how the heck they're rating you, but they score you. Somehow, some way, they are scoring you. And so what we're doing is we're saying, all we want you to do is tell us the profile of your company. We are going to extract all of that information. We're going to then put you into exactly the disclosure that you have to do in order to ensure that you are meeting the disclosure, that you need to do, okay? So in here, as you can see, now I'm not going to take you through how we profile you, but please be assured that we are doing it on we'll profile you based on all sorts of metrics and all sorts of questions and whatnot. And then you don't see that. We do that. And then you all of a sudden, you get to the system, and there are 3 ways you access this system. Number 1, manually around the world. Number 2, give us a spreadsheet, we'll upload the darn thing. Number 3, APIs. Those are application program interfaces. We actually go right into your internal systems if you have them. And like Intellex or IFS, which is a financial services system. And then we'll pull in the data right from the source. Why? Because it's integral. Therefore, there's no human interaction between the source and our system, and the reporting is very accurate. So in here is going to be where the rating agency response is. Answer the question. It's very simple. Ratings agencies hate. They hate. Okay, can I reiterate that? They hate those wonderful, beautiful, pretty reports that have all sorts of graphics and all sorts of things. They hate those because they think you are whitewashing, and they do not want to see that. What they want to see is a scorecard. Very simple, very straightforward. But we also want you to be able to add some data because we want you to be able to underscore with evidentiary support what your story is all about. So we provide you with the ability to add all sorts of documentation, all sorts of, requirements, anything that you have that is, that is going to explain what you do as a company. Not only that, the system also gives you hints, okay? It gives you hints. If there's lots of functions within the system on one particular question, then it's actually twigging you to say, hey, we need more disclosure here. But over here, if there's not much, then it'll say, just, give me the darn information and move on. We have entered all of the information from all 23 standard frameworks. We took the headaches away from you. That means that you can now just answer the question. And so way over here, it's saying, what's the geographic scope of the report? Great. However, are there any details? Are there any documents? Are there any pictures of the area, of the map, of where you all have your site? Give me some of the pictures of the geographic area of other areas around it, that's around it. Now, what we love to see here, and this is something that is very important. This is all of the GHG scope emissions, and please don't look at gallons, okay? Because we can take any metric in any form, any metric whatsoever. Because there's a calculator in the back of this. This is a demo site. And so we not only auto-calculate your GHG emissions and present it as carbon dioxide equivalency, we also provide you with the regulation limit within the country of operation, and then whether you're above or below the regulation. Now, as I go on in the various pages of the report, you're going to see a lot of these wonderful reference ranges. This is something that I have to stop and qualify. These reference ranges, no other system in the world has it. Why? Again, We came from the capital markets industry. I will not tell you how we did this, okay? But we can tell you that we help our customers incredibly with this information. Why? Because immediately upon any kind of entry where you have perhaps 10 megaliters of water that was used in any operation in all tasks, but you only reused perhaps 2, well, then you know immediately what your outside view is going to be to the world, how they are going to view you. This is incredibly impactful. These are at every single metric within the system. What does that mean? You know immediately if you are at 1, okay, if it's red, I'm in trouble. I'm going to have a meeting. I'm the CEO, and I'm going to go off and I'm going to have a meeting about what I should do in order to ensure that we resolve this issue. If I'm at 5, well, then I'm yellow. I'm going to give it to my country manager to say, hey, we should put in some procedures. We can improve this. And if I'm at 10, for goodness sakes, get the IR to put out a great press release and tell them how wonderful this company is doing. Because this is where it changes. This is it. People, you have to start to really understand data and how it speaks to you. This is incredibly important. And we have this at every single metric within the system. So anytime there's a dollar value, a percentage, a ratio, a decimal, anything of that nature, you will have that information at your fingertips. In this, what I want to also show, if you have, we do calculations, wonderful. So please look at this. This is the total between the 2 elements here. That's wonderful. But if you now go to this calculation, which is necessary, you need to have this number within it. So we not only do the calculations, we also do carry forward of the calculations, which is great. And then we're going to go to, and by the way, if you've seen, I haven't saved anything as I've been working along. This is a live system, by the way. I'm in the live system. This is the system. Okay, and for your information, for most of the companies within this, at the Precious Metals Summit, this disclosure is exactly your profile. Okay, so I'm not showing you anything that you're going to be surprised with. And so if I were to go to this question right here, this is like the tax system, right? We used to spend a ton of money going to accountants years ago, before the days of quick tax or TurboTax. Now, because of those systems, it's very straightforward and we spend a heck of a lot less money. While in this case, opportunity assessments and risk assessments used to be 50-page dissertations in order to submit them. Now we've done the homework for you. If you say no to this question, move on. If we say yes to this question, surprisingly enough, you don't have to do anything again. But if you say yes to this one, well, now you have to answer some very, very specific questions. But again, we made it very, very simple for you. Now, we're going to, as I go on, we are now going to actually generate the report. And while we're generating the report, I'm going to show you what we do as a discipline because we do come from the capital markets world. And therefore, in this case, we always have an audit trail. CFOs love us for this information. That was the report being generated. It just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on about what we've done and what we do. And it will pick up every single, because this is a multi-user system. As you can see, this is what we call the scorecard. This will have your logo. It will have your forward-looking statements. It will have, various emails. It will have various documents. It will have various links that you can look at. You can, ascertain all sorts of information. And this is what rating agencies need to see. However, you don't live only in the world of the rating agency. You live in a different world as well. And so for that, what we also do, so then we get the approval to publish the report. We don't actually publish anything. The customer publishes it. However, what we will do is we will then, once we get the approval, We then go, and guess what? You get to have the pretty report. Because now you've done what the regulators want you to do and what the rating agencies want you to do, which, by the way, the rating agencies are Dow Jones Index, MSCI and Morningstar, Bloomberg. And there are some companies out there, by the way, I want to caution you, there are some companies out there that are right now saying, hey, you know, we've got this system and we're going to rate you. Well, to heck with it, okay? They're not rating you. It's better that you just, because it's the financial institutions that are going to listen to other financial institutions for ratings. And so this is the sustainability report that gets put together, and it's really drag and drop. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. And I'm going to invite actually a customer of ours to talk about their experience and why he and she did not know that they were going to be asked to do this until this afternoon. And so then this is the scorecard that gets embedded into this, the sustainability report, or what we call the pretty report, because we haven't really decided on a better name for it. And however, one thing that no one's seen yet, and I'm unveiling it today for the first time, is called the executive dashboard. And this, Richard, I'm going to be talking to you specifically now, Richard, because you're the president of Orania Resources Limited, and what you want to do as the president is to be able to just go in daily and say, what are my reds? What am I possibly going to be in trouble for with the regulators, and maybe, you know, on the hook legally? What are my yellows? What are my greens? And this is a culmination of all of the reference ranges. And this is also how far along are we in the reporting? You know, where are we at? Also, what it will bring up is every single red item, so that you can actually go right to the source of that information to see where you are and why it is the way it is. And also it will have various corporate targets, because we have corporate targets within the system. And this is the executive dashboard. So the CSR will see everything. The CEO will see this. This is what they're really interested in. Also, they will have year-over-year trend analysis. And we will also have month-to-month metrics. So we have all of this. And with the AI capability that we are already engendering within the system, what you will see is that every year, year over year, we will be able to then teach you the variances and the deltas within the system, and so that you get an alert saying, by the way, you did this last year, why are you here? This is not, you know, there is a delta or a variance of such and such, you should address it. So the system then talks to you. It's actually giving you information about your data. And that is the most important thing about ESG reporting today. And so with that, I'm going to close it on my side. And thank you very much for giving me this ability to thank you for listening to me. But I am going to invite Mr. Richard Spencer from Orania Resources Limited to please speak for a couple of moments. Please, Richard, if you would. Thank you.
Laurie. ESG is absolutely fundamental to us. I mean, there's a lot of talk about it at the moment, and a lot of sort of pushback saying, well, this is just the latest trend, a bunch of people are getting on the bandwagon. But we in Orania Resources work in an area that has been forgotten about. It's a massive area, it's 200,000 hectares. And there's an indigenous community that lives there that has been forgotten about since the Spanish were there about 500 years ago. There are not enough people there to represent enough votes for any politician to care about this area. It has been forgotten for 500 years. We're the first company that's exploring in there. And we're faced with a situation where people are living in chronic conditions. There is malnutrition. One of our first goals is to lift a couple of the villages out of the malnutrition of the 1 to 5 year olds. I mean, there's no sanitation, there's no sewage, there is no water treatment. All the water is contaminated. It's 2.5 meters of rainfall a year, most spectacularly beautiful country, but all contaminated. There is no sewage system. There is no garbage disposal. There is nothing. The government has never set foot in this area. We landed there, and ESG was, just by our day-to-day work, an absolute core to the exploration that we're doing. And we're exploring, incidentally, for gold and copper and silver, but the ESG is absolutely fundamental. And we actually started an ESG report last year for 2019 with all the goodwill in the world, and just got completely bogged down. I mean, we got lost. We spent 3 months on it. I would hate to mention the number that we spent in people's salaries, and we absolutely failed. We could not produce that report until we met Laurie at Onyen, and she gave us the way forward. And she still had to take a 2x4 to us to get us into shape to report in the right way. But there is a pathway, and all these rules are changing all the time. And, and Laurie has undertaken to modify this system as we go. So, I'm the guy who's chirping about this. I have responsibility for it at the end of the day. But Carolyn, our VPIR, was the person who did most of the number crunching. So the people in the field are now, and the first one is difficult, irrespective of what Laurie tells you, the first one is difficult. But then once you've got that framework and once you know what you're looking for, then the second one is easy, and we're busy populating each lead in the field from, we've got a guy in charge of water, a lady in charge of environment, CSR, that group, everyone is feeding this system so that our next ESG report should be a whole lot less painful. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Richard. I do appreciate that. So there you have it. We are very proud of our system. We are growing in exponential ways. As I said, we just launched the executive dashboard, which is just leaps and bounds ahead of any system that I have seen out there. We are different because, again, we come from the capital markets arena, and we understand what the criteria is that you require in order to gain access to alternative sources of capital. We know the money makers and the hedge fund managers and the money managers, and we know them by name, unfortunately, at times, and therefore we know what they are looking for, and we try to provide you an easy path to that. If you do want to learn more about our system, please do feel free to call us or to contact sales@onyen.com, or just simply go to the website and click on demo. And from the demo, all you have to do is pick a start date as a date and time for a demo, and we will be happy to help you out. So thank you very much for your time and your patience, and please go off and enjoy the rest of the conference. Oh, do you have any questions, please? Sorry. Oh, okay. There you go. Carolyn and Richard are happy to give a reference. Are there any questions from the audience? Yes.
How does this integrate, if at all, with some of the governance watchdog agencies such as Glass Lewis and ISS?
It absolutely has all of that embedded into the system. So the question was, how does this system get integrated with other standard frameworks such as ISS or Glass Lewis? And we have ISS and Glass Lewis within the system, and therefore we do actually integrate with them so that you don't have to do that survey, the secondary survey that they wish you to do. Yes, it's all integrated. Any other questions? Yes. Yes. So the question was, does the final report identify which standard or framework that you have disclosed or aligned with? Yes, it does. It identifies which disclosure it has, which number it alludes to and whatnot. And if you wish it to be in a more summation format, we can do that as well. Any other questions?
Microphone apparently. Very impressed by the software. Thank you for the presentation. It's quite impressive for the E, for water, climate change, and other. When it comes to social and governance, for example, how do you measure these? And actually, can you include that inside the software?
So I absolutely agree. Most people, so let me step back for a moment. One of my customers said to me that animals don't complain, people do. And so social and governance is extremely impactful to your ESG reporting obligations. What we've done is no, we cannot sustain, as yet, we haven't figured out how to pull in the social and governance aspects of what the rating agencies are looking for. We will get there. Kid you not, we will get there because we used to build those systems, so we understand how they create them. So we will get there. But what we're doing is we do have ESG analysts on our side, such as Annie or Ani, when you were speaking to her, and others, geologists, engineers, lawyers, CFAs, you name it, we have them, and regulatory experts that used to write the rule, that actually did write the rules that we all live by. They actually take a hand in helping you to craft and to understand what the nuances of your disclosure should be. You're welcome. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attentiveness. Have a wonderful rest of the day and the evening. Bye now.